probably was the worst place to come at this time of night on this kind of weather. I was saying to someone today, and we were talking about Taunton together, and they said, "Oh, why is it September?" And I said, "Oh, well, apparently I know that answer to that one. Apparently we have evidence that September is the driest month." As I walk through rivers to get to my meeting. So anyways, the driest month. Where was I? Oh yeah, so welcome to tonight's meeting. This is Operations and Assets. I would like to advise everyone present that should the fire alarm sound, you should leave the building immediately. It's down that's scheduled practice at this time of night. By one of the fire exits, which are clearly signposted. So there's one just behind Paul, and there's one just behind Vanessa. Can I suggest this anyone on this side goes follows Vanessa out that one, and you go out that one, and meet in the fire assembly point will be out in the car park. So just go straight down. And do not return to the building for any reason until you have been advised that it's safe to do so. Can I please remind everyone to put your mobile phones on silent mode and just to keep it to one side from the meeting. The meeting will be recorded and live streamed on YouTube, and therefore when speaking, please remember to speak clearly into the microphone. As the chair of the meeting, I have the discretion to terminate or suspend recording and live streaming if, in my opinion, continuing to do so would prejudice the proceeding of the meeting. Recording and live streaming of confidential items will also not take place. Alert me as the chair of the meeting that you would like to speak, please raise your hand. Please remember, if you leave the meeting for any reason, you will not be able to take part in the vote on the item that is being discussed at that time. Members of the public will be able to view the live stream on the meeting via the YouTube. And can I request that when speaking, you make your points as succinct as possible to allow for the smooth running of the meeting. And just to remind you, please to be polite and treat each other with respect at all times. Thank you. Okay, so the first item on the agenda for tonight's meeting is any apologies. Did we hear from Councillor Furman or Councillor Tully?
I've WhatsApped them, but not heard that.
No. Okay, so right, any declarations of interest, item 2?
Oh.
Yes.
I volunteer with Friends of Frank Trullo.
And right, item 3, the minutes. Has anyone got anything that they would like to add, to change or comment on the minutes of the last meeting, which was held on Thursday, the 11th of July? No. So can I have a proposal for the accept the minutes? Thank you, Councillor Garside. Can I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Stapleton. All those in favour, raise your hand. Thank you. So we carry that, Ollie. So that's all done. Okay. So item number 4, the forward plan, which I believe is also coming from the screen, Ollie.
No, if you could just look at it on the sessions, if that's okay.
Okay. Right. So 9th of September. That's what we've got today. So the 7th of November. We the Play Parks accessibility review will be presented. I understand that the person who contracted to do it has been around all our parks. They've had a good look and done the survey, and they are now in the process of just writing up the report.
Yes, there's it's been quite a comprehensive report. The first draft, the preliminary, is due around about 16th of September for us to then consider what should be extracted and what's relevant in different parts of our process of improvements.
That will then come to us as a committee on the 7th of November, and then will we be passing it to full council?
Yeah.
Yes. And will that be there's a full council in November, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. So That's done. Well, we will get advanced copies of it before this meeting.
But I'll share it.
Yeah, we can just share it with them, the members of this group. Great, lovely. There's nothing else coming up on that particular day.
Not at this point in time, but things move fast. There's a lot going on.
Right. Has anyone got anything they'd like to add? Any burning issues they'd like to see come up on that particular meeting? Okay, right. I'll move on from that one then. So, item number 5, we have an update on the speed indicator devices. And Paul, I'll hand over to you.
Okay, so currently we have Asset Devices within the town council office. The proposal for their initial locations has gone to Sunset Highways for their approval. They were back to me and requested the weights of the units so that they could then verify that the proposed street lights were capable of taking the weight of each of the units. Apparently the person that verified that within Sunset Highways was off sick, so there's a slight delay in that authorization coming back.
Right.
So that's, we're currently waiting that they're ready to go. So 3 locations identified initially are Nels Drive, Kingston Road and Stoke Road. And there's been some issues recently in Stoke Road. So that's, people are keen to get that in place. And I've put together a schedule now for next areas for them. But that's out for consultation, liaison with councillors to see if there are any that are more important to get them going than others. So there are some suggestions, including Bindon Road, Garmington Road, College Way, Shedden Road, Chestnut Drive and South Road. That will keep us going for a few months. If there are any others that you feel are necessary and urgent, can you email me those? And I'll add them to the list and we'll look at what that schedule looks like. What I need to do then is go out to each of those locations and again identify a particular post that we might attach them to and send that off to have that approved as well. There's a little bit of work, but we've got a list which I'm happy to add to.
Just one question. Did you buy 3 or 4?
We bought 3.
You bought 3, haven't you? Yeah, okay. I thought with our previous meeting, we looked to buy 4.
I think the budget only stretched to 3 because we've also got additional, the bit that goes onto the post so we can pre-prep for when they move and save downtime. So we can go straight from the first 3 locations to the second 3 locations fairly quickly and get them going again once the batteries are recharged. And there's a bunch of clips required, stainless steel clips and things like that. So we kind of copied that up to within the budget that was authorised.
And how long will the SIDs stay in those positions for?
They are allowed to stay in each location for 2 weeks at a time. But in reality, if they're swapped to face the traffic coming from the opposite direction, that counts as a location for another 2 weeks. So essentially a month at each location. If we're going to go both ways, there might be some of those locations where it's not practical to spin them, but I need to assess those locations.
And it's possible to attend to those locations after the period.
Yes, I believe so. I don't know if there's a fixed time scale within which you can't return. I'll ask Kate Brown a sunset question on that one.
What's that? No problem.
Thanks, really useful. Can you remind me, Paul, do we get any data from the police to help drive where we locate them? So
We haven't, no.
that's okay, so just whether or not they can help guide on some locations where we know that, for example, there is either speeding consistently or I don't know whether they would work, probably not, but where we know that, for example, car racers, trying to make sure you people that like to go around at certain times of day and do drifting and everything, whether they work as well. And does the SID collect the data to show like average speeds on it over the set time, or does it just log it for that person where you get the smiley face that you're doing 26 miles an hour?
No, so the way they work is they have a radar that extends in both directions. They will collect that data from all the traffic that passes that point. When there is somebody that is driving in excess of the speed limit, it will not display the speed they're doing to discourage people from trying to see what they can get out of their souped up cars. So it's collecting a lot of data, that will then inform us. We'll collect that data into a spreadsheet and look at future planning for their locations, and see if there's a reduction the next time they're using that location. But all it will say is they go above the speed limit that's set is slow down.
Okay.
Flash that happen. If they're under the speed limit, we have the option of putting a smiley face and stuff as well.
Darren, any other questions from councillors? And that data is made available to us for the town council.
Yes, it will be. I don't know what it looks like at this point in time. We're learning about the SIDS as much as anything else.
So one will come on a spreadsheet and
Yeah, that'll be
pass it to me. I love spreadsheet. Manipulated data. So get some good graphics from that. Right, there are no other questions or comments. All right, thank you very much. I should look forward to, as I know many residents who have requested these will look forward to seeing them put in place quite soon. Right, item number 6 is on the defibrillators. Again, Paul, I can ask you for an update on those.
So update on these is that we have raised a PO and found a supplier, not the original supplier that quoted, because following our team building session where we were trained in the use of AEDs, the trainer raised some concerns. So we've gone through him to a local supplier and he will be installing them. So we're currently in the process of assessing each location for the electrical circuit requirements, because the external cabinets have a little heater in them so that in the winter they don't sort of freeze up and things like that. So that is happening on 2 days next week with 3 electrical installers who will visit each location, assess them, and then give us their price for putting those single circuits in. Once we've got that, the trainer who's in front house will arrange to have everything at the same time for each location. So we're not sort of half installing and then waiting for the electrician. So the electrician, the backboard, fixing to the building and fitting the AED and the case will all happen in a sequence that he's putting together for us. So it makes the whole package much more concise and comprehensive and it's local as well, rather than a company in South Wales who call themselves London parts.
And have the locations changed?
No.
No, so it's still the same
It's still
location.
the same location, and you provide the kids as well. So we're getting in once the cabinets have been installed there.
Okay. Has anyone got any questions? No? All right, okay. Thank you very much.
Sorry, yeah, I just have one question because I actually don't know which were the 3 locations. Right, remember.
There are there's nothing locations. We're fitting them to our pavilions in the parks because of the numbers of people that use those and the fact they're engaged a lot in high energy activities and could potentially increase the risk of medical issues. We're going to have one on the Shed Cafe in Goodland Gardens as a central town centre location, and one on the new depot as well.
Thank you.
And we're going to take the one from the pub watch. So
We're going to chop and change so we get them in the location.
yes, I need to go back and talk to the pub watch. Lovely, thank you. Any other questions? No? Okay, right. So next one, access steps to French Weir Park update. Well, I've certainly seen them. I haven't used them, but I've seen them. I've done a lot. So, oh.
Sorry, my voice.
Good, but you had this on the call. Then you just press play.
So the access steps have been installed, they've been poorly received, and I believe they're enjoying good use by lots of people.
Lovely. Councillor Ellis, would you like to comment?
I would, yes, absolutely concur. They have been an absolute godsend. I've never seen so many happy swimmers. It has made a huge difference. And although right now there's an advisory against bathing because there's been some awful oil spill which has been investigated, the minute they went in, people was literally kind of queuing up to use them. And they have been brilliant. They have made a huge difference. It's so much. I mean, I normally would just kind of do a sort of beach whale impression when trying to get out, and it's quite difficult. It was quite difficult to get out. Now you can get in and out with ease. You can lower yourself in slowly so that you can acclimatise a bit to the water. It has been really very, very well received. And so that what that means is you've had people now able to swim there with really, quite bad mobility difficulties. Once they're in the water, they're fine. It's just been the getting in and the getting out safely. So I would like to say huge thank you for sorting this out so quickly and so efficiently. And it has been, it's been brilliant. We're really, really happy.
Good. Any other comments? Yes, Jean.
Reiterate actually. I've seen lots of comments obviously on the bathing station group and things, but it's made such a difference to so many people. A lot of people who say in the past actually struggled to get in and out, it was putting them on going in. I think some people could get in, not out. It was the case now.
Easy enough to get in.
You're seeing that. But yeah, there's I think a lot of, in some cases, sort of older people or people with mobility issues. And getting back out was just a no-no. So, and they couldn't go maybe on their own, whereas now they're probably more.
And do we encourage people to go swimming on their own in the river?
No, but if again, they don't want to go in the water, maybe get somebody with them, but not going in the water with them. So
there's no should it reiterate everyone's listening.
Just an addendum to that, we will be putting in periodic checks of the fixings, etc. as well. Because we don't know how they're going to perform within that decking. So we'll check them fairly frequently to start with and then extend that out as conditions dictate.
Is it worth having a sort of sign attached and saying, if you notice a problem, please report? Maybe just perhaps attach it to the base. Saying, please call this number if you notice if someone notices a screw's loose or bolts missing or it's a bit wobbly.
I think when we get the signage there in the park, people will automatically know who to come to report in the normal way.
I think it's quite good to try and actively get people to report it when they see it, rather than relying on somebody else to. Councillor Staple?
Would it be worth putting on the bathing station group? If there's a number that would be a preferred number, a lot of people who use it are a member of that group online. So if we put a number on there as well to say to them if they ever spot anything, because they're in it most days.
Yeah,
so they could report it.
Absolutely, and of course the last thing you want is to get into the water and then the thing fall off as you're in the water, because then you've got nowhere getting out.
Yeah, I think we do need to do some comms to just clarify saying, I think a lot of people realise that, Taunton Town Council. Like we're responsible for the maintenance of the steps, we're responsible for the maintenance of the, that sort of entry area, and that whole area is public land anyway. But yeah, it's good if we, I will continue to sort of make people aware that if there's an issue with it, it's a Taunton Town Council thing. Melanie's very good on the bathing station. She'll normally just ping me. There's a problem. As soon as she knows I'll get a photograph and then I immediately ping Paul. But people need to know who to come to and that it's us and that we will deal with things.
And make it nice and easy for them so that it's not a hassle for them to contact us as soon as they notice a problem. Then we can, and hopefully Paul can go and sort it out, or one of Paul's teams. Too many Pauls. Before I and, oh, yes.
Yeah, in that vein, there's a bit of wood that's rotted, which Paul's had a look at, and I think he was saying might be a bit tricky, but I don't know if there's what the latest is on that.
We're going to look at that again next week, mainly because of limited resources at the moment, and it's probably quite a major job to take that chunk of wood out and replace it. So I want to make sure it's done right, so we haven't got to touch it for another 10 years.
Any other comments? No? Well, thank you very much, Paul. And another update, public conveniences. And would you like to breathe? Would you like to break?
So this is in relation to the tubing of the toilet cleaners that worked for IT Verdi, who were contracted to Sunset Council and provided services to Taunton Town Council through that contractual arrangement. 2 employees were moved to us, and we're delivering that service in-house as of the 1st of this month. So it happened to be a Sunday, not ideal. However, we prepped them on the Friday, we did their inductions, we gave them risk assessments, all that kind of stuff, the culture assessments, and they started successfully on Sunday to operate that service. For the first month, we've contracted a security company to do the lockups. Okay, because the 2 cleaners, now known as facilities assistants, because there's a slight change to their job descriptions, and we're expanding the range of tasks they can do, rather than just cleaning toilets. While they're there, they can do some reading, they can do graffiti removal, they can do minor repairs, they can look around the area and see if there's any litter, and do more of a general sweep to save the maintenance team having to make separate visits to come and address the things that would have been reported to us previously. They can just deal with them. If they're more complex, then we've got an escalation procedure. So that's working quite well. They're keen to get involved in all the tasks. They have new job descriptions, and over the next month, we're going to put together a tighter schedule for them, and hopefully introduce some more areas that they can start to clean, such as the pavilions. I've also had a chat with Wellington Town Council, because they aren't contracting anybody else separately for their toilets. So there's an opportunity for some linked working and to generate a little bit of income from that arrangement as well for the Town Council. So that's very early. We'll discuss that further, and we'll refine things over the next month and get them working really effectively. They've got all the equipment they need. Their vehicles haven't yet arrived, so we're on a hire vehicle currently. And within the next month, things will change, and we'll be able to stay back a little bit.
And we've been able to store it all at the depot now.
We've got it at the depot, yes. The
All at the
materials are
depot.
there. We're monitoring the use of some of there's a lot that's new to us, such as how many toilet rolls do we get through? Well, how much cleaning materials do we get through? How many scrubbing pads for the scrubber they now have to be
Still have a spreadsheet coming along.
that they never had before. So it's a learning curve. We can adapt and adjust that to get the most out of them.
And how many toilets are they cleaning each week?
They're doing Castle Green, they're doing Cannon Street, Briarswood, Hamilton Park. They're doing the one in French Weir, Ivory Park. I think that's it. Which one? Victoria. They've got a training session on Monday with the manufacturers of the deep cleaning equipment, and Victoria Park is their trial. If it'll deal with Victoria Park, it'll deal with all the others. So the manufacturer is doing a session for them.
So do you think we'd be able to utilise them at Wellington as well, or would that be?
I think we are.
I think the bandwidth.
We're
That's
going
a
to
good expression I had today.
recruit the 3rd position
Yeah.
because of their working hours. They finish at 2 o'clock
Right.
prior to the toilet closing times. So there's a review of the closing times. We've got to make sure each toilet is providing facilities at the appropriate times and not necessarily extending to the evening and only encouraging particular groups of our society to use them at those times. So there's a review, we'll complete it within the month and we'll have a clarity going forward.
Great. Councillor Smith-Lawrence?
I could talk toilet for hours, as you know, but
I think you're later on the
I am
agenda.
late on the agenda.
So save it. Hey.
When it comes to regen, but I guess my question around toilets is how do we benchmark feedback as to where we were prior to Sunday from like data on like what people have sent through? Because it would be good to, as I love data, but be able to show people actually by bringing it in-house and being able to run it ourselves, that we will see an improvement. So you would expect complaints to go down. And I guess it comes then, this might be a very operational question, Paul, is our aim previously under contracting out, the toilets were cleaned twice a day at opening, closing, that was pretty much it. Are we building into the schedule, because it's now we are masters of our own toilet destiny, that we can clean them more often?
That's the hope, yes.
Yeah.
And more effectively, because they never got a real deep clean. We're scheduling deep cleans every 3 months.
Yeah.
And we bought the kit to be able to deliver that properly. So proper scrubbers, proper deep clean. They've got pressure washers, they've got scrubbers, they've got battery powered wet vacs.
All the excitement and the
Need to raise the quality of our facilities. They've even got air freshener to squirt before they clean each time. So the instant thing is it smells better.
We've certainly moved on from the days of the universal ball flush.
We've had positive comments back about the smell and we haven't done a deep clean yet. So it's in the right direction. And they're pleased to be able to take ownership of it a little bit as well.
Did anyone else have a comment or question? So that was so did they get to clean every toilet every day, or what's the average days between cleaning?
We're doing them twice a day.
You're doing every toilet twice a day?
Yes. And the hope is that we'll get a third one in, but we need to recruit the third person into the
Twice a day. Every toilet twice a day. Very good. That is good. I'm always wondering whether it's like in the shops where they, as you walk out, you can hit a range of smelly faces. I wonder if you can install those.
I think this might get smashed.
Didn't our foot counters get?
Okay. Councillor Ellis?
Presume the deep cleans are designed to get rid of that sort of stainy, grimy.
The floor surfaces attract it and hold it, and you've got to get the brush into that to be able to release it. They've also got the kit to go higher up the wall and things like that. So
because it's almost like it's cars that we never had. That's the one I use the most, as it ever had of that. Because sometimes you just think, seriously, has it ever been cleaned properly? Feels like it hasn't ever been cleaned. So I'm very keen to see the results.
And
yes.
and I'd be very keen. I'll be very keen actually at our next operations and assets meeting. If we have any emails saying, "Oh, love the toilets," any positive feedback, well, actually all feedback that you receive, perhaps if we can just share that at the next meeting and can see the
I'll discuss with colleagues because I don't necessarily see that feedback. I get feedback from time to time about the maintenance team.
But then we're getting lots of emails saying, "Oh, love the toilets, much improved. Thank you very much." I think it'd be nice if this, we had that at this meeting, which we could then, but that's, sorry, I'll just go to Councillor Stapleton.
So when's the first deep clean being done?
Well, the trial one will be on Monday for Victoria. And then we'll schedule, I'm trying to keep the first month a sort of bedding in period to look at the schedules, to look at the opening times and to make those small tweaks that reduce the antisocial and the non, what's the word, the non-observed use of the toilets later in the day. But we've got to look at each toilet specifically individually because there are different usage patterns.
In terms of the deep cleans, if you're the first one done on Monday next week, I was just thinking that sounds maybe a bit sad, but actually quite like to go and check them out myself.
Yeah.
Do you know what? I was just about to say, Councillor Stainthorpe was only asking because she wanted to go and watch. Should we all go as an council? Should we all go Monday? What time is it?
This is just me, yeah.
I would be interested to see actually.
I was talking to a friend of the weekend, we were at a festival and they're on a council up in the northwest, it's a Cumbria area. And they said their biggest problem is toilets. And it's clearly it's a countrywide problem and issue. And it would be nice to see if we've actually managed to change it so that actually we make it better for everyone and move forward with it. And not just wait for people to send an email, but actually when somebody questions, we say, well, actually, we do deep cleans and regular cleaning of our toilets. I think
Well,
that
even though other we've also introduced check sheets for the guys when they go in, so that they, you know, we want them to be a trusted member of the team. So if they sign off as having been completed, we're going to put some checks and balances in place, make sure that the quality is there. We're liaising with them on a daily basis now directly, which we couldn't do before. Are there any issues? What do you need? Do you need any support? What are the challenges? Is there anything you haven't been able to do? You know, rather than locking the toilet and reporting it to us, actually they can deal with the solution as well. And we're also just a little thing about standardising toilet rolls, because we don't want to be having 4 or 5 different types from different suppliers. So we have one, and we hold quantities at the depot, and then we get economies of scale when we're buying as well. So there's lots of little things.
I think just
Councillor Smith-Roberts?
I talk a lot about comms, and I'm wondering if there's something about, not right now, but maybe in a month, about you said we did kind of thing to residents to say, actually, for the past month, we've taken on board the toilets. And I've spoken to Meg about it before, there's some form of education piece, both around the fact of we're doing this, we're cleaning it, we take pride in it, this is what we want to do, but we need your help. Firstly, respect them. Secondly, you know, let us know when things are broken, but also we want to make people aware of what quite toilets cost us to run, so that actually they understand that it is something that we have to put money into. You know, it's 8 pence a visit, I think, roughly the toilets cost when every time a person goes for expensive. And so I'm just wondering if there's something there, when we start telling a story, and maybe you tell me that I'm obsessed with toilets too much by this, but this leads us on a journey of what we've done as a town council and why we're then investing, which we'll do in a paper later, £300,000 on regenerating our toilets, because actually we value them, because we need to demonstrate that we can care for them and look after them if we're going to spend that much money on doing them up. So I think there may be something for the comms officer to do, or working with both of you to either side of me, so we can start telling people, because they do generally, if I put a post up on Facebook about toilets, people love to comment far more than if I talk about money that we just our budget or anything.
Yeah, there's opportunity there.
Yeah, I think it's good that we communicate what we're doing and giving people the opportunity to comment back. I'm looking forward to comments back. I have a feeling we are going to get a lot of much more positives. Councillor Ellis?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask, I don't know, has to date, in the past, was recycled toilet paper being used? What kind of toilet paper have they been using in the past? If we look at what the options are for that, I'm sure that that's come up at the toilet working group, and you're sort of looking at.
We haven't sampled any, no.
I know I get mainly raw from tin shop. But I'm maybe thinking you should get that brown stuff, the other stuff that's even like more eco-friendly.
Well, we go for the bigger
Yeah,
jumbo rolls.
Can they, do we know what their ecological credentials? I mean, I'm not saying, I'm not going to put you on the spot now, but if we can just like kind of do a sort of look at all of that side of things, I think that would be great.
We've gone to Clean Solutions in Cheapside as our preferred supplier. We had Greenham's in as well. All they wanted to do was sell us stuff from a catalogue, and then they couldn't find the right pages in the catalogue to tell us why we should buy it. Whereas Clean Solutions have greener ranges, but there is a balance, and hence the deep clean requires different chemicals that aren't as nice as the ones we would be using every day. But the ones we're using every day are less effective than the ones for the deep clean. So there's a balance to be struck. Hence the frequency of 3 monthly initially. And we're trying to be as green as we can. Hence we've gone for the battery kit, the battery scrubber, the battery vac, etc.
It will be my final question on this, but I just want to make sure that the welfare of our 2 new staff is thought about, both by, and I know we will be doing this as a council, they encounter some really unpleasant things in our toilets. It's not just all just cleaning, like it is unpleasant. So I'm just checking that we are, we're asking them to do more, but actually they will encounter, people at their most vulnerable if our housekeepers are in there, and just making sure that they've got the signposting as to where to direct people, working with Nick, our new town warden, just around that support both for them and those.
Yeah, so the supervision is far more than what they had before. The only people they would speak to are those they reported issues to. They had no welfare checks previously with their previous company. They'll be having a weekly update with Gary, who's the maintenance supervisor. He will be the direct line manager. He'll be doing the weekly updates. He'll be doing the one-to-ones every month, and picking up on any issues that they encounter. That borne in mind, they've done this job for quite a number of years. They're used to encountering those things. They accept that that's part of the job, and they're both very pleased to have both the equipment to deal with it and the protective gloves and everything else that goes with that, which unfortunately has been sadly lacking. So they've got their risk assessments now, they've got their cost assessments, they know what they're dealing with, they're being monitored and looked after as part of our team, rather than a couple of toilet cleaners that just go on and do that. So they're very much part of the team, and they'll be working from the depot, and we'll be seeing them, having a contact every day with them, which they, not had. So
Can I assume correctly that they're lone workers?
they are, so we're also, they
But do they
are
have
half
radio contact? Do they have radio contact?
They'll have a man-down device,
Right.
which is on order, hasn't quite come in yet, so they're working together at the moment. Except when they overlap 3 days a week and then 2 days a week where they're individual. So they're sharing about for 3 days at the moment, instead of doing their own thing and then meeting up for specific toilets. We've highlighted Victoria as a particularly high risk area, and that's a 2-person job.
Right.
They'll be having these devices. The device they just have on a belt clip, they touch it for 2 seconds. It automatically opens up an audible channel to a monitoring company who will listen in to what's happening and will deal with things in a number of different ways.
So they are being protected.
They're being protected, and we're encouraging people in the office that go out to an appointment on their own to actually have a different device that will do the same thing. There's a whole separate thing, but it's it's part and parcel of making those improvements.
Yeah, I think it's certainly things we need to consider and put in place.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Are there any other comments? No. Well, thank you very much. May I welcome Mr. Furman? Thank you. That's right. Don't worry. So, all you've missed so far is just updates. All you can say. Right. So next item is the litter bins replacement of bins in poor condition. I'll just quickly summarise the background to this. So there are 10 litter bins in our parks that we own, and 35 bins around the town, which are either in very poor quality, or close to collapse, are they? And they certainly don't conform to latest legislation on recycling and separating out of waste.
No. they don't.
Yeah, so they do need replacing. The 10 in the parks are our responsibility, for the parks. But we are suggesting that we replace 35 of the town, as a matter of course, for public health, for public safety. I mean, they sit on the highways and they're not really within our remit, but for the sake of public health, they desperately need replacing. There's one up in my area near a fish and chip shop that it's always overflowing, broken down, and they've mentioned that, and I think it just needs replacing. So I'll just run through the report and there. So combining survey information provided by Somerset Council, we have located and collated the condition of waste bins within the respective areas of responsibility. We have a prioritised list of bins, 35 around the town and 10 in the park. So these bins have 3 sections to them each. Pictures of them are down at the bottom. Is this the report coming clear? So this is what they look like. Dog waste and general waste now all go in the same area, into the same middle section. And I think you have to lift up the flap to put it in. Yes.
Strange.
I know, I'm not sure that was quite designed by a dog owner. So, but there's a picture of what they look like, and not too dissimilar to what many bins that we have around town at the moment.
They're exactly the same style.
Exactly. Okay, the imaging is looking different.
The reason is we've got the Taunton Town Council logo.
We're going to have a Taunton Town Council logo put on all the bins we replace.
Sorry, they are the ones that we've gone to the supplier who Somerset Council used previously for the existing ones within the town. So in order to follow through with the same format, they have given us the list, their prioritised list for those outside of the parks. And my maintenance team are assessing those within the parks to determine which 10 be replacing as a priority. It's intended that it's phase 1, and hopefully we standardise right across the town.
So it's the 45 bins that we're replacing in phase 1.
So
out of the 45, we're going to
45 to be replaced in phase 1.
in phase 1.
So the list
And in
from
phase 2,
Somerset was 35, and phase 2 not yet collated.
No.
Because I don't think the resource is there to look ahead for phase 2 from a Somerset perspective.
Mm.
So we'll need to do that assessment over the course of the next year.
So the recommendation is to support the procurement by ourselves, Taunton Town Council, and installation by Somerset Council of 35 new multi-section litter bins across the town. That's the list provided by Somerset Council, plus 10 within Taunton Town Council parks. Will Somerset Council do that?
They have said they will do them at a price. We're trying to negotiate with them to tell them how good we are to help them out with their list of 35, and they really.
So it's not something we can. It's something we can do ourselves.
We can do it ourselves. It would be better to have them all done and delivered to their depot, and they take them from there and install them on our behalf.
So all of this is going to come to a cost of 38,500, and will be taken from the service improvement plan, which is the EMR.
Yeah, the earmark reserve.
EMR reserve,
This will need to go.
which is
to council.
which we will take from full council next week. But I recommend is to support this. So based on the report and what we just heard, Councillor Ellis.
Yeah, I obviously support this. This is a no-brainer. This is, keeping Taunton nice and spruce and improving standards and everything. I'm just kind of curious as to what the locations are, priority locations in town, and do they include problem areas like by the waterfront, by Cold Orchard, where the
That was
seagulls having a bit of fun.
If you want
Do we have,
to.
and one key point, when I remember when this is going back to SWT, when we had a bunch of that exact style, the first wave, I think it was, in store, which was great. However, the ones on hard standing, fine, but there was one in French Period and then the two in Long Run that I was forever reporting they'd been up literally. For some bizarre reason, some naughty people decided, wouldn't it be fun to uproot the bins? And there was a spate of bin uprooting. So I don't know, they did eventually, I don't know, put them in the ground so they lost, either the people lost interest or they were fixed in differently, I just want to flag that up, that on softer standing, when they're on softer standing, there were issues when it was first rolled out. There were certain ones that were forever being kind of jacked up, knocked over. So obviously we can, you know, in that knowledge, we can just check that they are all installed so that doesn't happen.
Yeah, we'll monitor that, make sure they are, then they should all have a ground anchor that's suitable and sufficient for their locations. If that's out in the wild, then yes, there are wild people that will try and destroy them.
Councillor Fern and then Councillor Stainfield.
I was going to ask the same thing as Caroline, say what the locations that particularly are.
And Councillor Stainfield.
And just a couple of questions about the sections, because I know some of the earlier bins had they didn't have glass on them. I think these ones have.
They have glass.
They have the bottles one.
And there's plastic in the other.
Yeah, there was plastic in there,
Plastic and pins on the other side.
but they do have the glass.
So
That's
the
the one.
same segregation as we get on the domestic collections now.
But not
Right, okay.
cardboard or paper.
No,
But some of the earlier ones had cardboard but no glass, and there was bottles left lying around some of the bins. The other one is a question that does seem to still come up regularly, is does it really get separated by dog poo bags that go into the main bin? Because people seem to send a bit of a thing around Facebook saying that they believe it just all goes into landfill. They won't believe it, that it's somehow they're separating out the dog poo bags. Is there somebody
You want
from
to have a
that?
visit, don't you?
No, I don't think that's no, I don't want to visit. But is there somebody from whoever the company is that is responsible for taking away the bins can actually tell us?
I think, Councillor Federica.
I can get confirmation of that because it's what I've always been told is that they get separated and sorted. So even if you don't put it in the right end, these people do sift through and pull out what can be, because recyclables are worth money, aren't they? In effect. So that's the advice that I've always been given. For me, this is really welcome. I know a lot of these off the top of my head and would say those are the ones that do regularly get reported as being overflowing. It's really useful to have also that second column, if I've understood it correctly, for that actually what Somerset Open Spaces are saying is that some of it will tidy up the bins in that area. So if you take Mount Walk as an example, which is the path that runs down behind Hewish to Foxes, is that there are places there where you have a dog bin and a bin next to each other, where actually you'll take out both of those and put one of these larger bins in. For me, there's two things, and I frequently mentioned it to Paul when we were discussing it prior to the opening of the meeting, is that if Somerset are removing bins that are in fit condition, for me, they shouldn't be wasted. They should either be offered to other town and parish councils who want them, who don't want these bins, as an example, if they're doing, I hate seeing things just going to waste just because they're not used anymore, or they could be used for something else. And then I think the second point again comes down to comms. The bin that was mentioned in Colwich as an example over the weekend, that's I think really tiny, weird design that does overflow and seagulls love it and everything else around it. People don't realise that these bins cost nearly £1,000 a piece, and actually that is just the cost of what things are worth. You know, I reached the acclaimed heights this week that for whatever reason a company have written to me with a brochure of open space bins and benches. I don't know why they were to me, but they sent me one, and I feel like I've hit
Toilets on it too.
That's next. And I showed it to my husband and the kids just to show them actually what things cost. That is just the value of what things are. But it's about educating people that actually this is what it is, and actually we're investing in it because we know that seagulls love to go in them, and by having them contained, hopefully we'll, you know, keep it tidy. Is that the saying?
Ollie, are you able to send that spreadsheet to us as councillors? Because I think we'd quite enjoy that. Well, enjoy it. I think we'd appreciate it. No, okay.
Would it be possible to have an additional bin next to the bus stop on Park Street? Because I actually asked Somerset Council if they could put a bin there. First of all, they said no, they didn't need a bin, but actually a bin is needed. That bus stop's full of rubbish on a daily basis. And then one suddenly appeared and it was being really well used. And I thought, oh, good, they've changed their mind, great. And now it's gone. You know, it's disappeared again, so now the bus stop's full of rubbish again. And also across the road where there's some homeless guys just across from County Hall next to Mitre House. There's this little parkway where two homeless guys were sleeping. That's just full of rubbish. And that bin, there is a bin there, small bin, and it's always overflowing stuff there, and it's a terrible mess. It's a real eyesore, and something needs to be done about it.
So I think at the moment, the 35 is the town council trying to support the wider community as far as our budgets will currently allow. Obviously, the parks are our remit anyway. We've sort of gone above and beyond to replace these 35 at quite a significant expense. Extra bins will have to go through Somerset because the highways are still theirs. We'll need to seek those permissions and the budget to do that as an extra, which my gut feeling is won't come in phase 1. But there will be a phase 2 where we need to approach it. And there are some changes to the collections as well that Somerset are looking at, which looks like it will come to us to empty our own bins within our own parks, but they'll still continue to empty those outside of those assets. So I think we're limited in how we could go forward with that. It's interesting that one has been and gone, as it were, in Park Street. But I don't think we're in a position to be putting extras in at this point in time. But if somebody comes up with another suggestion or opportunity, that would be
But
great.
surely there must be an answer to this big litter problem there. So it's just a big mess.
Have you logged it? If you haven't logged it, then they won't know, but if not, I'll email in and see if I don't know who owns that piece of land.
No, I don't know.
Yeah, so
There's some little park with some benches.
Yeah, but I'll find out.
Marcus?
Yeah, it was just in relation to the staple growth bins that are there on the list. Obviously, that came from the original request, wasn't it, from Councillor Fenner? So those bins actually were owned by the former parish council that existed in this area actually prior to 2023. So those bins that are being replaced, we will own those bins as an asset, I presume, and those will be returned to us.
So there you go. To answer the question, you got your.
Thank you.
You've answered your residents' request. Councillor Ellis?
Yes, but yeah, I was about the time frame. That would be useful to know. And just the second, Frederica's point about recycling the raw bin, when you've got a decent one that is, you know, serviceable, especially if it's covered, a covered one, very good idea to hang on to it and see how it can be redeployed. Because I've had parts of North Town where I've had that, luckily because Julian Grant had saved the old bins that came out when they put the new recycling, there were a lot of still serviceable ones. So that was a big boom to have them. And I think actually our town woman installed one of them from Julian's stash, because we had two open bins with seagulls. It was disaster, and they were replaced by just the simple, you know, the square ones with the top, and that made a huge difference already. So anything that's salvageable, it's halfway decent and semi-seagull proof, definitely we need to keep our hands on if we're replacing it and see where it can be redeployed.
I mean, all the red dog bins that are still around the town, are they slowly being removed?
There are 3 or 4 on this list that will come out when the new bins go in. So when there are duplicates for separate waste streams, the idea is to consolidate.
Again, when we remove the old red dog bins again, they're still operational. Are we able to store them and perhaps sell them on somewhere? Was there another comment to come? Or did anyone want to respond to Carol?
The time frame.
Timeframe, well, we're placing the order as soon as, it's approved by yourselves and full council. The installation time to be negotiated with Julian Grant.
Over to you. Right, well, this is coming to full council on Tuesdays. We'll be discussing this again, so there's, and I'm very keen that this gets passed because it's a good, good use of money to restore public health and just clean up our streets. You know, we are aware, of course, that we are doing some of this work for Somerset Council, or we're buying the bins for Somerset Council. So I'm hoping that we'll all back this on a Tuesday. So the recommendation is that we do support this. Can I have a proposer? Thank you, Councillor Ellis. Can I have a second? Thank you, Councillor Irving. It's got all grand on you. All those in favour, please show their hands. 2 people, right? That's unanimous.
Thank you.
Let's forward to your support on Tuesday. Right, last item, item 10. We have an update on the public toilet working group. But there are things for us to consider here. We are to consider endorse the public toilet working group's preferred design. Now, I still don't have this. I'm hoping the pictures will come up. Does anyone else have the appendices with the designs?
Yes.
You do.
Okay,
Okay, I still can't get them.
it should be in decisions.
Yeah, I'm in decision.
I've got the.
It won't open. Okay, so how many of you are seeing these designs for the first time? Okay. Okay, so let me quickly, Ollie's getting those up. So we're to consider the preferred design for the upgrade, to approve the commencement of a tender exercise based on the public toilet working group's recommendation design. So that tender will go out. Is this also going to full council? Is this also going to full council?
Only Hamilton.
Only the Hamilton.
Yeah.
This one, so based on this, so from our decision tonight, we will then go and get a tender. We'll go out to tender, but the tenders will come to full council in November, is that right? Yes. So that's the next stage. Members consider that Taunton Town Council work in partnership with Somerset Council on the new completed changing places facility. So some of us went to see those 2 weeks ago, this new changing place facility in the transport hub. It's part of a building which at the time Somerset Council seemed or muted that it's a building we could take over or acquire, and if we do, we can then increase the number of toilets. We can build a new toilet block. That would then be a nice toilet block, which means we don't have to update Council 3. Now, I'm thinking that as a group, we need to extend our recommendation, support recommendations that either this committee, in conjunction with the working group, toilet working group, start to explore the avenues of taking on this building in the transport hub. So who went to see this building? Myself and Ed and Smith Roberts. It's got good potential, hasn't it? We can certainly put in the changing places toilet is fantastic.
It's got one in there already, which, you know, shows just how good they can be.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we'd build another one there, but we would certainly build DDA single occupancy toilets either side, and then there's the upstairs floor. So I would like to add to this, but we'll go through the designs first. Members consider and support the recommendation that the public toilet group use some of the already allocated toilet budget to improve Hamilton Gold, and I believe that's going to come to a cost of 75,000, isn't it? For Hamilton Gold, and you're going to show us the designs of that now?
Not the Hamilton, no, just the Cannon Street.
That's Cannon Street. And we need to support the public toilet working group in adopting their updated terms of reference. And some, oh, my computer seems to stop working. So, can I hand over to you then, Meg?
Yeah, of course. I mean,
Federica, did you want to say anything?
Oh, sorry, yes.
Yeah,
Sorry, you're talking about degree.
Should we go through each point in turn and of the different recommendations? Because I think we've come forward tonight with quite a bit. So if we talk about Cannon Street, just to give the background, the reason, as you advised, Nick, is that one of the reasons that we've chosen Cannon Street is that because of Castle Green, both of them are the most used toilets when we put in the foot counters that most people have stolen now. But when we were actually looking at it, Cannon Street and Castle Green were the most used. But the reason why we're bringing Cannon Street forward and that we've moved to this design stage is because of the fact that Castle Green we want to come back to at a later date, just because of the different kind of things that we perhaps could do in the town.
The more possibilities of open.
The more, yeah, definitely. And so when we look at Cannon Street, I think us as a public toilet working group, we've looked to maximise and challenge officers and the designers about the use of space, about it not just being about single unit spaces. It is actually about thinking about the demographics of Taunton, and I think I spoke about this last time, about, you know, I locally say, if I need to take my kids into a toilet, it's hard work when you're trying to hold the door with your foot because you've got another kid stood in front of you and another one over the other side of the door. So if you can actually have a space that means that you can have either like a family room or a pram space, and you make it accessible as well so that it suits all different demographics, I just think that we're being more aware of the different types of family situations, and that's got a huge amount of space. And then if I recall correctly, that central bit that goes down the middle allows the maintenance access, and also then can do things around the ecological and environmental agenda, around things like harvesting of rainwater, and allows us better access. These will be about being done to, I use the term detention grade standard, but it is literally where as much as possible you can't damage them. So therefore in the long term the maintenance ends up being less. The changing space in these designs space there, it's not yet budgeted, if I'm correct here, Meg, about being kitted out, but it is there so that we can look to access funding, or if we can't access funding, then we look at next year's budget, if there isn't any remaining in this year's budget, to then do the approximately £15,000 kit out cost. And that would mean that we would then not have, we would have the changing place that's currently at the bus station, subject to you guys approving us taking it on tonight, and then also this one coming into play. So we're increasing our ability to support those that need a changing space. But we're looking at it from an ecological, you know, point of view. There's a drinking water tap outside, so again about doing refill, really good use of refib. So for me, it's a really good use of space. And done to our colour scheme, I believe.
Yes, Councillor Evans.
I think this is looking really good. I think there were some notes in the report about what point you do the rainwater harvesting and other eco features, but I think we should just build it all in. It was like when we have a little bit of money left over, I think that should go on the eco stuff now, and I think it's great. So you basically, all of those main units are all accessible as the baseline, which is, you know, ideal. And building in the potential for the changing space later, I think that's great. The drinking water as well, I really think it's fantastic. I don't know whether we're going to, we were talking the other day about adding an extra recommendation around Paul Street. I'm in favour of us taking on the
I think
changing
we'll
space.
come back to that.
Are we going to come back?
I can bring it back to the table.
Yes. Any other comments? Councillor Staple?
The number of toilets. Obviously, that's saying is the lowest number of toilets of them all, yeah?
Yeah. Yes, it's got 4,
Yes.
that's the changing place, yeah.
Yeah,
So that's 5.
so it's
Yeah.
5 in total, and I think it started off with 7 and going to and some with 6. In terms of the footfall, and I guess it's judging the footfall with the number of toilets, is that seen as adequate number of toilets that you're going to end up with maybe problems with food?
Personally, I haven't looked at the like whether or not the football at different times of day, whether you have to queue. I guess there is a weighing up point. We that in the toilets at the moment, they are used for some antisocial behaviour, so the foot counter would also take into account that.
Right.
My personal view is that by making everything accessible, even if you had to queue for a little bit, in my view, it means that people are going in and out all the time, so that you prevent the time that people are in there solo. That then means that that's when you see the antisocial behaviour happen. I don't think Megan, you've got a view.
So we know that the footfall counters in there are not particularly accurate. Also because people keep stealing them, so we can't compare month on month.
Yeah.
But we've had 2 experts look at this, and they said based on the footfall that they think this toilet would get, because they're comparing it to other towns of similar size, there should be sufficient. So yeah.
That's
If it turned out that actually there are, you know, I can't see it, but say it did turn out, we do all this, fantastic, but there are queues or something, that storeroom area, is it possible to retrofit, if you had to retrofit to stick another one in this or something, would that be technically possible?
Yeah, I think so, but it wouldn't meet the same standard of accessibility. It would have to be a.
No, but if it became an issue, because I was a bit worried about, when we were talking about Castle Green, I was a bit worried about that, just simply because we want to have more festivals in town, and then, you know, you've got a lot big footfall, but obviously Cannon Street is a car park, you'd have gone somewhere where you could have gone and then come back, so I was imagining that there wasn't as
And I
great footfall.
I think you touched slightly onto, like, which isn't on the paper tonight, but even Paul's alluded to, around opening hours and what is the purpose of them. So around the fact that you said that someone will be coming maybe from somewhere. So if you're going to the brew house in the evening and this is where you're parking, you hopefully could go to the toilet there and then come and, you know, so that's why they would be closed during that time. But it's about them being there when they're needed in the daytime.
Sorry, and just to check that for the period they'd be closed, emergency toilets definitely, absolutely be provided.
Temporary.
yes.
Oh, happy, I'm happy.
So we've got the gathering rainwater. And is the roof going to be new? Is it going to be a new roof? Was that an existing roof?
Yeah.
Because I was wondering whether it's, I don't know, every time I see a roof being built, I always want to stick a solar panel on it.
I thought that was cool. We've got money left over to do PV and the rainwater.
And I'm wondering if having PVs on them would help with the electricity, because I don't know how much electricity these toilets use, where the PVs would.
For the lighting.
For the lighting, certainly for the lighting, that would definitely. Cool.
I've got 3 separate lines of inquiry about solar PV for all of our pavilions. I've given the details of the pavilions, the orientation, the sizes, and the approximation of energy use, and also for the depot.
Yeah.
So I'm waiting for the first proposal to come in for that.
And would they be able to go on these toilets here?
I think they would on this one.
Yeah, and then it's just. And
talk to Green.
Yeah.
But not necessarily Victoria, because it's too accessible by people flying.
Yeah. Would we have, because being in the car park, I think there'd be good CCTV coverage of those.
We've spoken about the CCTV and making sure, haven't we, that it's pointed to ensure that we're looking after our assets. Yeah.
Excellent. Has anyone got any more comments on the design?
Will it actually look like? Will it be kind of funky and like? Is there some sort of element design when you're inside?
Oh yeah.
Are we going to have like, I don't know, something just a bit?
It's got to be something that ages well, doesn't it? It has to be something that's easy to clean and light.
Yeah.
And if you take, in my view, Bidebury Park toilet, the green was probably of the 1970s and of the time when it was done. We just need to make sure that we don't replicate that. But there's probably something around art or something that I personally think we could look at. But again, they just need to be functional toilets that people also use.
Interesting.
Yeah, just thinking of that, you've got to be careful, because if the public see too much, you know, fancy stuff or arty work, they tend to think that maybe too much money is being spent by it. But at the end of the day, what they want is a functional. But there's a fine line. You know that they're quite good to Thank you, sense.
Yes, go ahead. Alice.
I do think maybe we could try something with it, maybe somewhere like Castle Green, we could try it one day, this is my dream. Try something a bit funky, a bit different, a bit like vintage toilets, right? Where you go in and there's a person there with a nice apron on and there's flowers.
Can we bring us some Taunton together? Sure, we Taunton together. We have
Something with a bit of character, something a bit special, not posh, something a bit quirky, but the toilet in the shed, do you know what I mean? Something with some personal, I would just love to see, would that work? I think you'd have to employ somebody to kind of be in situ, he wants to do this.
Taunton
But
together.
that would be my dream, that to me, is the ultimate loo, the quirky loo, with character.
Councillor Garside.
I agree with Caroline. I think it would be absolutely brilliant to do that. And I think
Taunton together, have a
actually
porter.
we can do some really great artwork inside the
Yes.
toilet on each door, beautiful,
Yeah.
design, and it could be really, like the arty toilet.
Right, we don't think I feel the same day in there, marring the off. So Councillor Furman and then Paul. Councillor Furman.
Personally, I'd find it a bit weird having an attendant and.
You just haven't been
Well,
to the
I
right,
guess-
you just haven't been to the right hotels, Ed.
Yeah, so I guess that, because I don't really feel like that's something that you need, really, but if other people want to, then, yeah.
Paul?
I recollect when Castle Green had a person.
Really?
So they had fresh flowers in there and they had awards.
Wow.
Public toilets in Castle Green.
Well, there's a fish.
Wow.
There's, I think that's, yeah, I mean, they still are buildings. They can be more than just functional, they can be nice places, you're gonna spend time in there. Not too much time.
And actually, that's actually a nice space. That space, when you go in there, it's actually spacious. It could be luxurious, but it's not.
We have a fantastic artist in the town, more than.
Inspire.
So that's the design, so, I don't know, should we do this one by one?
That'd be easier, and then we can talk.
Yeah, members to consider endorsing public, so, can I have a proposer for this design? Councillor Gutson, yeah, can I have a seconder? Oh, okay, on to. All those in favour of the design that we've presented with? Okay, so we will take this is going back to, no, this is going to the, this is going to a tender. So we agree, we are happy with this design, we are happy for it now to go to tender. With the additional requirement that if we can get some photovoltaics, cells on top of them.
So the environment, the committee wants it to be where possible, the environmental factors to be made sure that they happen.
Yes, so that's including the rainwater and the photovoltaic cells, yeah? Yeah. Anything else you are we missing something?
No, we done that, we're doing the changing space.
Yeah, like that.
Yeah, so right, so we've just done recommendation one, that we have now approved of the design and we are now happy for it to go to tender. Good, so then recommendation two, members to approve the commencement of a tender exercise, that's right, we've just done that. Members to recommend that Taunton Town Council work in partnership with Somerset.
You didn't vote on that, no?
No, but we're doing them in, we've done 1 and 2 now.
No, you only said one, you only said one.
So number 2 then, so members to approve to go to, so I thought 1 and 2, I thought that would together. So proposal that we now go to tender with this, proposer, thank you, Councillor Berman, seconded by Councillor Ellis, all those in favour, please raise your hands. Good, item 2, so I thought I'd done both different ones. So, right, okay, so item number 3, we're looking at recommend that Taunton Town Council works in partnership with Somerset Council on the newly completed changing station of the facility in the former bus station site principally by taking on their, now it says cleansing here, do we mean cleaning?
Cleansing thing.
Okay, possibly. Requirements as soon as possible to enable the opening of the facility, the further formal agreements regarding the maintenance and leasing of the asset to continue and be brought back to this committee in due course. So, Councillor Smith-Roberts?
Yeah, so you again spoke about this earlier, so some of us went on a visit to see the transport hub, to hear about the transport hub in general. This was out for the consultation. And part of that is that Somerset West and Taunton, as it was, which then what became into Somerset Council, was very good to go after a grant in relation to changing places. That grant has been used to build a really nice, it was rather warm actually on the day that we got to look around into the changing place, and it's all there done with the ramp going up to it. And where Somerset Council is no longer providing toilets, it's looking for somebody to take on the actual running and maintenance and cleansing of those toilets. It is part of a wider building that it's got both a downstairs area and it's got a really good upstairs space. But I think for us, it would be a really important milestone and step that whilst we may have ambitions, and that's a separate conversation about what that building looks like, who owns it, and then who runs it, and actually then talking about the changing place around, you know, taking on the lease, that actually we demonstrate that we're committed to having a changing places toilet and start actually cleaning it. And then once actually that's happened, we can open up further conversations around, you know, taking on that, whether that's in its entirety or in a long-term lease, or whether we want the whole building and what is our vision for that building. But I think for today, it's around saying that we will clean it, and that means it can open as soon as practicable.
So, yes, I would encourage this. Any comments on this? So I would like to add to this recommendation that we also start looking at acquiring the whole building so that we can add more toilets to it. But I'm not sure that should come as a separate recommendation. We'll add it as a recommendation of this. Okay, so yes, I'm just wondering whether cleansing is a one-off, whereas cleaning is a continuous. I don't know whether cleanse something is one-off. Just I don't know. Maybe just need to change the word. Any comments on? But there's the council, you taught English.
It means the same.
It does.
It's got the same intention.
Okay, so the pension, okay. Right. So to take on the cleaning regime and requirement for the changing places at the transport hub, so that we can get this changing places facility open and up and running as soon as possible. Do I have a proposer? Thank you. One of you happy? Councillor Stainthorpe. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Furman. All those in favour, please raise your hands. Good. So recommendation 3 has been passed. We will go through that. Shall I do the additional recommendation now? Yeah. Okay. So an additional recommendation. I think now that we are taking on this, and that's without us actually owning it or leasing it, is it? So the recommendation now, I think, is having seen this building, and when us councillors went round to see it, we saw the potential for developing toilets either side of it, so that we can increase the number of public toilets and just build them from scratch and start them from scratch, which would free up, well, we can lose Castle Green toilets and free up that space for something else. And perhaps just forget Castle Green toilets ever existed, since people are always complaining about them. Start there, but also take on the rest of the building and find some utilisation of the space there. And I think that'd be good if the working group, and in conjunction with the Operations and Assets Committee, started exploring this with Somerset Council, and also, in addition, taking on the lease of the Paul Street toilets. I was wondering whether, as a recommendation, we should start exploring that avenue with Somerset Council to take on Paul Street.
To go with this one.
That's right. Okay.
Sorry, so it's quite about.
I know, it's just getting into But exciting. So, I would like to add that recommendation. I hope someone's writing this down. Ollie, are you writing that down?
Yeah.
Okay, so, right, we'll go around, Councillor Smith-Orbit, then Councillor Ellis, and then.
I would personally separate out both of those recommendations, so you treat them as separate
Right.
instances so that one doesn't fall if the other one falls. I think that
Okay,
makes
yeah.
sense, but, like, just so that then it's
Yeah.
seen as two very separate things. So for me, I got very excited when I went into this building. I didn't actually know it existed, if I was honest. I just thought it was the back of the witch always, or whatever, Mackenzie's now. And I think that there is a place to have unisex toilets there alongside the changing places. I think that this could be, I think we need to think in a wider context when it comes to this building about what we want as a town council. And I think that we need to make sure that we are measured in that approach. So I think for me, the recommendation needs to be along the lines of trying to secure like maintenance or a lease of it rather than just paying for the cleaning of the changing place. There should be like a stepped approach as to what we want. If it is that we ultimately want the building, which at the moment I'm pro doing, then we would need to ask the officer team to draw up a business plan, because we've got to be mindful that the more that we take on, the more that our budget as a whole has to stretch in order to be able to deal with that. So we do know, or I know, or the Somerset Council did do some work in particular in relation to the BSIP project as to how much that building may do up. So before we then go down any path, it would be good just to see that. We do know that it doesn't have any accessibility to the top floor, so it would need a lift putting in. So it's about understanding it. So I just feel like I'm excited by it, but I need to be measured in that excitement, because if you then start saying we want to take on Paul Street, or there are other avenues that we want to do, we want to increase grants next year, let's say, to different community groups, we can't have it all because our budget doesn't stretch that far. Because I would like to come back here as an example with my public toilets out and go, I'd like another 300,000 next year, because that we've only done 2 of the 9 toilets as an example. So I'm not saying we shouldn't push for this recommendation, but we just need to be mindful of both resource moving forward, our capital project spend, if we're going to do a capital project, which is what this would be, and also officer capacity in order to do it, because we just need to understand, probably from Marcus and Donna, where are we putting all of our resources and have we got that commitment for next year. So I think for the recommendation, it's about doing the lease or the maintenance first, and then does that lead to the wider building?
Well, I think we've covered the lease,
Yeah.
or the maintenance of the building.
We've got just done the
Yeah.
cleaning, not actually done the lease,
No, not
but
the-
yeah.
Councillor Ellis?
Yeah, I think my feeling about the building is I'm intrigued. Ed kindly sent in some photos, but I want to see floor plans so that we have a good old think about it. So I think it's something you would like maybe officers, when they have a moment, to go off and explore, and then come back and say, these are the, options, or I don't know, some working group can consider that or something. So I definitely want it explored.
Yeah.
In its broadest sense. For me, Paul Street is urgent. It is not okay to not have public toilets in that location.
Yeah.
When I was in the library, we had children and had a art exhibition, which was the library was absolutely amazing. They let us have the space. They were fantastic. The number of people coming in to the desk saying, "No toilet, there's a toilet in here." No, and we, you have to go M&S or whatever, or it's not okay. You've got a lot of old people coming in because of who uses the library, and they're not able to allow general public to use their toilets for various reasons. You've got 2 car parks, or you've got big multi-storey car park there. People come into Taunton, you expect to be able to go to the loop. You've been on a long journey and you come into town, you park, you're like, somebody's going to need the loop. So I just think, for the benefit of residents, and especially vulnerable residents, and also visitors, urgently, I would say urgently, at least a couple of them we need to take them on, open them up, clean them up. I don't, they've had problems, yes, but they need looking after. We need loos desperately over that side of town.
Councillor Staple?
I'd just like to reiterate what Carolyn said, and I've been contacted by elderly members of the residents who now no longer can go to the library.
Yeah.
I had an elderly gentleman contact me, said, because there's no toilets in the facility, you know, he's in his 90s, he said, I can no longer go to the library. And for a lot of elderly people, that is their only, you know, time out and communication with other people. The Paul Street toilets are essential. I mean, even if we could put them so that they're, you know, opened and locked, you know, at sort of very social hours, you know, daytime hours, at least if it matched up with the library opening times, and that would make a difference.
So I'm often based at Leicester Litter, and I can often see people wanting to go to the toilets and coming away visibly frustrated and not knowing where to go. They have no idea to go. So I do think, I agree. I think this is a priority. It's definitely a priority. Councillor Smith?
So to talk about the Paul Street toilets, I'm really pro opening them. I've actually changed my mind on Paul Street toilets in fact. But what I will say is that they are going to cost a lot of money. So it's not just about negotiating around having a lease. And I think, I think Somerset Council will be open-minded to that, but bearing in mind it is in their car park. So I do think those conversations are something for us to have. But I want to say that they need like one of the toilets is functioning out of all of them prior to them being closed. So they are not in a good condition. And you are talking about £20,000 minimum spend per cubicle on them was what I was advised in the past. So if we want to soup it up, then we need to see, have we got money in our reserves this year? So you make it concurrent or to run straight after Cannon Street being done, you go into Paul Street. So that means it would have to have money in this year's budget. But we're saying actually that's being spent on Cannon Street and Hamilton. So is there money in earmarked reserves for that to happen? Or we need to wait till April and budget setting time to say that we want to spend probably, I would say, £200,000 on getting Paul Street up to scratch in order to do that. And at the same time, saying that we also want to take on doing what is that going to be at the transport hub, and you're talking about an extensive spend then. So actually, it's not the £300,000 that we were looking at spending this year. It's more when we're bringing together next year's budget. But again, we'll be guided on the finances. I think it's something that we should do and that needs to happen, but we just need to be cognizant of the financial impact.
I mean, I have to say, my one thought about that is, as you say, they are on a property that's owned by Somerset Council, which is a car park, and Somerset Council get all the revenue from that car park. I think it is a bit disappointing that Somerset Council can't divert some of that money that they get from the car park into maintaining those toilets, which we all agree are a priority. I'm wondering whether it's something we can do one at a time. We don't have to take on all 7 at once and do them. It might be, I mean, even just having one.
Even just having one would be.
Just having one.
The other option.
Sorry, can I just get to Councillor Ellis?
Yeah, I want to impress on the urgency of this.
Yeah.
So I completely get what you're saying about, we need a longer term strategy vis-a-vis the totality of the toilets. But if there's a toilet, if I had the power and if there's a toilet there that works, yes, right. I'm all for it. I want it opened up, I want it clean, we'll do a deal with Taunton Town Council, get it sorted yesterday, now. No prattling about, no there now, because people need it now. So even if there's 1 or 2 that are semi-functional, they work, or could be easily fixed. And then we have a longer term look at it.
And so if I come to you, Megan, when you come to present the Hamilton Court, I still believe there's what, £20,000 left over from the original 300,000, that mean?
Give or take, yeah.
So that could be a 20,000 for at least one toilet, isn't it?
Or that, if we're going to look at the climate and ecological measures at Cannon Street, that 20,000 might be crucial to put those things in place. So we might need to revisit.
We don't. Okay.
No,
we don't. But it's
the other option is to put temporary in front of Paul Street as a really random idea, and to put temporary outside while we're doing negotiations or something, and then do a phase. You can do phase toilets there depending on the plan.
But by temporary, you mean just, I would literally stick a sign on it saying this is temporary.
No, no,
And
no,
you can go and use it and, you know,
no, no, but
take it like in your hands, but you can use it. Yeah.
Paul, can I just say, having received a copy of the plan of the Paul Street toilets. Yes, it's a big space. It's a space that, again, has issues associated with it. If we were to look at a phased approach and potentially replicate Cannon Street's format of individual cubicles on the front of Paul Street and forget what's behind. It would break down the budget.
Yeah.
But we would have to bear in mind that there would still be some works in the bigger toilet to facilitate that safely, to meet all the current regs for water, hygiene.
Because there are 7 toilets there, and I mean,
Yeah.
even if you just had the 2 facing out. Would be a start.
You'd isolate the rest
Yeah.
and divert the pipe work, etc., to facilitate those on that first phase.
Councillor Ellis?
Yeah, I mean, I like the sound of this, but I just, the thing about the 20 grand, I mean, sure, there's one of them that works, surely they're not all completely knackered. I mean, I can't remember the last time I did some business in there, it was years ago. I can't really remember the space of them, but they're not all completely knackered. They're not all gonna cost 20 grand just to open them up and clean them, are they? We can do something urgently with a couple of them.
Well, what we need to do is pass a recommendation that we would like to explore with Somerset Council gaining access to these, whether by, well, we can't take them on, so it has to be leased, but I'm sure that we get a good agreement on that. So now is that for this committee or the working group? So,
We have to come back. No, there was a lease, right?
yeah.
Don't have to go back to full council or this committee, this committee. So we pass this recommendation, first of all, for looking at getting Paul Street toilets and start, so we can start recommending that. Paul, would you then start with your team to start discussions, conversations?
Certainly happy to have discussions as to what's feasible, what's
Yeah.
not.
And then report back at the next. Okay, so recommendation 6, Ollie. We dictate the debate more. The members recommend that we begin discussions with Somerset Council on acquiring the use of the Paul Street toilets, whether individually or collectively. Did you get that? Because I'm not sure I'm going to be able to repeat that, Ollie. It sounded so good.
And you want to ask the working group to consider the renovation of them subject to those discussions.
Yes, yes. Over to you, Ollie. Mind you, we're being recorded, aren't we?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The owl's watching.
So, do I have a proposer? And a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Stainthorpe. All those in favour? Yes, so we've approved that recommendation. I might. You might, if you could read it back to us when you just see what we've approved.
Can I do another one on the?
Yes, we are.
Don't need to.
Yeah. So recommendation number 7. This is a big report. This one. Yes. So we recommend that again. A recommendation by members that we begin discussions with Somerset Council about leasing stroke acquiring. What's the building called?
Building 2.
It's building 2 at the transport hub. I think.
Building 2 of the transport hub for further development into toilets and community spaces.
Yeah.
Yeah, and community spaces. But emphasise that it is discussion. Do I have a proposer? Thank you, Councillor Bowman. Do I have a seconder? I'll do this one, Councillor Bowman. And all those in favour? Passed. Great, lovely. So, right, okay, Megan, over to you. So we're now going to discuss And consider the support and recommendation of the public toilet working group to use some of the already allocated toilet upgrade budget to improve Hamilton Gold. Is that how you pronounce it? Gold?
Yeah.
Gold. Public convenience system. Shoot.
I mean, I'm happy to talk between us, we can do it. So we obviously looked at doing the main town toilets, and then we know that as you've approved the budget and moving forward in relation to those. One of the other things that we then thought about was with the existing budget that we had been given in this financial year to look to do one of the outer ones in the town. And in particular, we looked at both Prior's Wood, but actually that was in good condition compared to then actually doing the one at Hamilton, which hopefully we can then ensure it is in good condition, but also it's used, you know, with the football teams, skateboarders, and just bring it up to a better standard. But what we want to do in relation to the toilets is around having the same kind of water points, wasn't it? Everything that we're looking to do, we kind of always will have like a base template saying where we want to improve things and doing that across our toilets. I don't know, maybe you want to add anything else.
I just wanted to say it's this toilet here that we're looking at doing.
The outside accessible one.
Oh, right, so all the other WCs
Yeah, so this is the whole pavilion,
are.
and these toilets here are only accessible within the pavilion keys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's just this toilet that we're looking at the moment. There is another toilet here that is accessible if you don't have pavilion keys, but this is currently closed.
Right.
Because it's been damaged.
Okay, are we looking to renovate that and get it back into?
Not at the moment.
Not at the moment.
So we're just looking at this one at the moment.
Okay. Is it currently disabled? Or
It's labelled that way. I don't know if it was.
it looks very small.
It's the right size.
It is. Can it be turned into a DDA toilet?
I've had confirmation from
Right.
the contractor.
Okay, councillor Ellis?
I'm very much in favour of this. I'm very much in favour of bringing back into use and making accessible and doing up these pavilion toilets.
Yeah.
That there's all of this facility in here that's only used like how often a week? The same goes for Taunton Green. I'm going to try and keep calm about this. Taunton Green Pavilion. SWT spent, I want to say 60 grand, that one might have been 80. Doing it all up, doing all new low. And there was an accessible toilet, really nice, all new, baby changing unit that we have been using when we play tennis because radar keys, most people in our homemade group or have a disability of one sort or another, most of them have radar keys. And then it was blocked off, right? On grounds that it had been vandalised. This actually turns out to be garbage because when you go in it now, the inside of it is exactly as I remember it. It's just been boarded up. So I think we really need to look at, so that's why I'm so supportive of this project, because I'd like to see us progressively looking to increase access to toilets. So if you're in Taunton Green, we've got tennis courts there. We've got a fantastic, there's some of the play equipment, not great, but it's a fantastic space. It really is. You cannot go to the toilet. People bring shiwis, people poo in bushes. It's ridiculous. And there's a great facility sat there, but you have to have a fob in order to access it. And it could be different. So I'm very supportive of this, and may this be the start of a revolution in increasing access to toilet. It's all over
Right. So it's going to cost 75,000 and the contingency, in case it goes over budget. Yeah. So it might not cost the whole lot. There, no. But yeah, we'll remember that when it comes to Paul Street. And have you got any other comments? Would someone like to propose this recommendation? Thank you, Councillor Stapleton. Someone like to second it? Councillor Ellis, thank you. All those in favour? Right, good. And then we have done that. And finally, members to support the public working groups adopting their updated terms of reference, which are at the bottom. Are you able to put them up on the screen? Would you like to talk?
It's just a small amendment to say that we can look to make sure that we're now obviously reporting to operations and assets, so that it's just keeping it clear. We wanted to update it so that we were broadening our remit, because it said about assets of Taunton Town Council, well, actually two of the things that we've spoken to are not assets. So just make sure that we're sticking within the rules.
Yeah.
And then just the final bit around accessibility and inclusivity being, a key component of what we do, and constantly challenging ourselves to be that.
Okay. I think that's pretty straightforward. It's the last item to approve. Do I have any comments? Seems pretty straightforward to me. I will propose. Anyone like second? Thank you, Councillor Furman. And all those in favour? Yes. Okay. Right. So, Ollie, are you able to formally read out recommendations 6 and 7?
Yeah, so first one regards to St Paul Street, I've got recommending principle that the reopening of St Paul Street is progress urgently and those works are taken through the public toilet working group.
I think we were starting discussions. Yeah.
Can we have something in there with you to at least potential partial reopening as a matter of urgency?
Yeah.
And then a sort of second bit, which is about a bigger.
I think we definitely need the word discussions in there. So to start discussions.
We want to put reopening and or alternative provision. Because wasn't there talk about potential?
Potential of putting temporary toilets.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that would be the temporary.
My view is there should be toilets there.
Yeah.
Now, I would go for whatever the swiftest route is to get at least a couple of toilets open and no fussing about, but I don't know how you do that.
It's maybe worth asking when we close Cannon Street whether there's a deal with the temporary toilet people to have 2 blocks.
That's what I do.
That's less money.
Yes. Sorry, Ollie, what have you got now?
Recommended principle that potential reopening of St Paul Street is discussed. Is that what you want to discuss, or is that urgent?
The recommendation that discussions begin with Somerset Council over the, was it reopening?
Just reopening.
Reopening.
Yeah.
And transfer of the toilets to the town council as a matter of urgency.
And you could put an expiration of cost for temporary toilets outside.
Yeah.
And then you could put toilets on the agenda. You could put toilets on the next agenda.
Yeah.
Then come back to them.
Yeah.
Yeah. We might have to go back to the owl.
Yeah, I think so.
And what have you got written down for item 7?
Recommendation that the council continues discussions.
Initiate discussion.
Initiate discussions via the public toilets working group to further explore the potential possibility of procedure building to the transport.
Great, lovely. Okay, folks, well, thank you very much. It's just there. Time for a song. Right, thank you very much. I shall see you all next Tuesday.
Thank you.
Don't forget, we approved the design.